plant it all again, and we're having a bit of, well, unseasonable snow, as you can see in my walk here. But I thought this might be a great opportunity to actually show you how I'm managing heat in the greenhouse. I came across this group of folks from greenhouses to all sorts of walks of life using diesel heaters. And it turns out to be a pretty solid option. So let me walk you through the way that I've made this happen, and I'm keeping the chill off in my greenhouse. So, heater here. These are exhausts. They hook up here instead of one big one. I've got 4 small ones. This is the air intake that will be going with this. Now, let's see. All the connecting bits, but this is not an air filter. This is intended to be an adjustable choke for the intake. A muffler here, not a catalytic converter, but a muffler. And then I'll get into this in a second, but this is a fuel line upgrade kit. Because the one inside there is not so great. Now, power-wise, has a 12 volt input, and there's no inline fuse, so we're going to have to add one. I need a power source. It only needs 15 amps. This one is not marked on the, oh, there it is. So this is a 30 amp, so I have more than I absolutely need, just in case the peak is not truly 15. And we'll wire that in afterwards, right at the very end. Now, things that are not, so we also have, this is the exhaust that comes with it. I need something bigger, and I'm going to try heat recovery. So I bought this. This is actually a radiator element for a house. We're going to use this as the exhaust line with these connectors so we can recover some of the heat, but still come out the end and get outside the greenhouse for the exhaust fumes. And that's more or less it. So first order of business is we're going to upgrade the fuel line. All right. A lot of screws here. They all got to come out. Here's that fuel line. The big difference here is it's very squishy compared to how rigid this is. And because of the nature of the pump, it can expand and contract, and then eventually will fail. It's a pretty well known issue. And while we're in here, it's worth pointing out this particular unit is the only one I could find that has an aluminum casing here. A lot of these, you open them up and they have the same plastic casing. Now, it's not necessarily a problem, but I have read a lot of reviews where people preferred the shielding and then the just overall quality of these aluminum ones. They are closer to the original German version. So we'll see. This actually worked out to be cheaper, so win-win. All right, so as we're working, we're going to be coming from here up to the pump with a short piece, then out, around, and up into the burn unit. Might as well start here. So first order of business is actually getting this clip off. This is just a pinch and pull, and with a little bit of force we can wheedle this off. Okay. There's a kit. fuel line, a fuel filter, which was missing, by the way, and then a whole bunch of fittings. Now we have our clamps here, and then we have these pieces. These are actually automotive fuel filter, or automotive fuel lines, and the idea is that we're going to abut these, and then this will actually be over top and clamp it down. The important thing is, as this comes together, they need to be flush up against each other, and it's pretty easy to tell when you've got that right. So it's true for every single connection. I'm just gonna stick with the existing lengths here. And double check your ends and make sure they've stayed round. Scissors can kind of squish them, and we don't want them to be ovals. There's one. Also make sure they're square. Good. Let's see here. First fitting. All the way down. Just snug it up and make sure that you're just behind that little ridge there. Right, nice and tight. Take our short piece and just kind of reference it with our fingertips. Push it in. So it's right about there. I can feel this is more squishy, so we gotta go more in. So we need to get this back over here, and we need to make sure we maintain the correct angle. So you'll see this is heading this way, so we'll hold it at, I think it's about 30 degrees is what the manual says, but double check it. You definitely don't want to do this or that. So keeping its original orientation. And come down through there, and you know, this is worth pointing out, if you've forgotten, there is a little flow indicator there, so that is heading here, so this bit up. All right. Well, Not so good. That's not gonna do. I'm gonna cut a longer piece here so I can loop it down and back. I think that should work well. I think that'll do quite nicely. All right. All right, that's the fuel line. Now the exhaust lines, not terribly long, but they do expand a little bit. So you can add a couple inches. Might go a little bit further, but I don't really want to tempt it. I may purchase longer replacements after I've got it situated in the greenhouse. We'll see how that goes. But it'd be kind of hard for these to be much more simple. Just slide it on and tighten it up so it doesn't go anywhere. Alright, now we got that all connected, let's get this exhaust on. So you can see my elbow doesn't quite fit. Easy fix, we're going to cut a handful of flutes in here, and then with a little clamp, slide it back over and clamp it into place. And honestly, that's going to do great, and that's going to allow these radiator fins to bring a little bit more heat into the greenhouse. But we're going to need another elbow on the other end, and this is the wall flange that is going to be going outside the greenhouse. So the bulk of the metal is probably more than enough to dissipate any heat at that point, but I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to stick a wood plate in there, and that's a little more surface area anyhow to clamp up onto that plastic wall. So we got those little flanges cut in there, slide over, tighten it down, and we'll be pretty well set to move forward. Oh, yeah. Well, so this is the muffler. I honestly don't know how necessary it is. It's not a catalytic converter, so you don't need it for environmental reasons. It's to reduce noise. Now, I could stick it on there. I don't know if that's honestly all that necessary. We're going to see. I can always add it later. Oh, last but not least, we need a fuse. So this is a really simple inline fuse holder. Just got it at the auto parts store. And I'm going to use these self-sealing waterproof crimps. So you twist up your cable like you saw me do there, crimp down the metal. So you really just want that copper coming up to that little dimple in the middle. Crimp both sides. Now that's already pretty darn strong, but here we go, heat gun. We're just going to shrink the housing right over it, and you'll see as it gets tight down there, the heat also activates the adhesive, and you really do get a watertight seal on there. You can see on the left it's already noticeably different, and the right hand side sealing up right there. We're ready to go. Okay, so back at the greenhouse, and this is the platform that's going to be supporting the heater. Then that exhaust is going to drop down through the hole, run down here and out somewhere there-ish. You see the radiator right there and some brackets to support it. So let's take a brief look at the heater and how we're going to be lining it up here. It's going to live basically there. Now, got the power leads coming up here. We'll address that right at the end. And then if we take a look at the underside of the heater, these are the last bits we need to set up here. So that's the exhaust, and this is the air intake. So the air intake hose and comes through here, be attached. And the way you know the difference, without even having to looking at the manual, is the fuel line is right next to the air intake on this model. And then the exhaust is going to come down, it's going to go between the slats, and then along here and out, and it will need to run at a slight downhill because we don't want any of the acid that builds up in the exhaust to accumulate and then eat its way through. So there we are. That's where we're going to be working, and let's get some brackets up. Alright, here we are. So I couldn't get it on camera, it just took too many hands. But this is all set. It is fastened to the case, so it's going to be upright. Comes in through there, under, nice and fastened. So is this one. These they're borderline impossible to get on. So just take your time. And I am actually going to use the exhaust. I found that I just need a little extra length to get the alignment I wanted with my radiator over there. So this is going to get us down and below, connect to the radiator, and then out the side. Alright, let's get this into position. And this is what we're looking at here. So got our little tail down there. Heat is still going to go out that way. Power is going to get up and around. And now let's figure this bit out. Alright, there we are. We are secured. If you're doing this, get a helper. I did it on my own, it's very doable. But man, somebody on the other side just holding parts through, letting me tighten while they've got a screwdriver, it would have made this easier. This doesn't have to be dead tight. I mean, it's pretty in there, good. And the weight is entirely on this bracket. It's not touching any wood. I don't think it would get hot enough to be an issue, but who knows. Now, it comes securing this, because it does move. I don't think it would be a problem, but I'd rather know. So, I have, just like over here, have my beloved zippy ties holding it on. Well, I could use them, but this gets hot. So, I got these stainless steel zippy ties. Nice and easy. Okay, so let's look at the hookups here. Going right to left. This is our inputs. This is where our alternating current is coming in. So load, neutral, and ground. That means you're going to need a 3-prong connector. So we have load, it's black, neutral, usually white, and then green for ground. Then, looking down the line here, we have 3 negative voltage outputs and 3 positive sides, as well as a trim adjuster. And this is supposed to give you about 10% plus or minus, just to stick bang on the 12 volts that the output is rated at. So let's get those connected. Just lift up the screw, slide in your wire, and crimp it back down. Now it is important, just if you've never done these before, make sure that is totally under. You don't want that like halfway or a quarter. You want to make sure you've got a really good grip. Some folks prefer to curl it around, so it's going around and back and then out, and so it's all the way in contact under that nut. This honestly works pretty good. Let's get our negative here, and you can use any of the 3. They're all connected to the same circuit, so it doesn't really matter. There we are. There's our inline fuse. And it's nice and twisted. There we are. Looks pretty good. Time to plug it into power, put in some fuel, and go through our first burn. All right, there we are. The notoriously dim displays, they do brighten up a little bit, but we've got it working. You can kind of hear it going. That's the pump, and it is already beginning to cycle. I've gone ahead I've done some rough positioning. I've got plenty of fans to blow the air around, but we will see. There's the whole system, and tonight is supposed to be pretty chilly, so I'm gonna get a good idea of what this can do. Oh, there you have it. That's a warm greenhouse. Now, I'm not heating it like I'm heating my house. I'm just taking the chill off and getting my plants going. So if this fits your needs, then go for it. It was pleasantly easy. It was relatively inexpensive, and it's helping me keep my grow going. So I hope you're having a great time. I hope you're staying safe. Make sure that you plant it all.